All right, what's going on, boys? Welcome in. It's Keg from Rum Pure Bets to break down UFC 274, the main event, maybe a couple fights on the main card. As always, like we do every week, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and join the Rum Pure Bets membership. I mean, it's a no-brainer. $60 a month. Best $60 you'll ever spend in your life. All right, main event for UFC 274. I was going to wax poetic and make the case for Charles Oliveira. Yesterday, I'm at the doctor's office. I'm dealing with my own shit. And I started getting messages from people like something happened to a family member. And I look, and it's everybody flipping out for the fact that somehow Charles Oliveira missed weight. And I was stunned that a veteran like Charles Oliveira would miss weight and be forced to vacate the title that he spent a decade trying to get, right? Turns out the Arizona Athletic Commission probably shit the bed. 20 out of 28 fighters said the scales were off. Specifically the hotel scale that the Athletic Commission uses as the scale everybody gets on before they go make weight on the stage. So I think they were probably negligent, and it cost his championship. So now what, right? That's the question. Going into the fight, I thought that Charles Oliveira had to survive the first round. If he did that, I thought he would win the fight. I also thought that if the fight hit the ground one time, because Charles Oliveira has the best MMA Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game in the history of the sport, I figured that it would be over, right? Now, do I think that Charles Oliveira is compromised? I don't. I expect the same Charles Oliveira that we were going to get, that we thought we were going to get on Thursday. I think that's the same guy that we see in the cage tonight. Where is his head at? I'm not sure. It's hard. It's a very hard question to answer. But with all that being said, do I think he wins the fight? Yeah, I think Charles Oliveira is going to win. But it's hard for me to put money on him, because if he is even the slightest bit compromised, that is enough of an edge for Justin Gaethje to end the fight. Why? Because these guys were already relatively close, I thought, in skill. Power makes up for a lot, obviously, in MMA. Not many people have the power that Justin Gaethje does at 155 pounds. So, if Oliveira is compromised at all, it's going to show in the cage when he gets hit by somebody like Justin Gaethje. But I don't think he is compromised. So from a side, I think that Charles Oliveira is going to win the fight. I am not going to bet on him because I don't want to guess whether or not he's compromised or he's not compromised, right? So the only thing that we know for certain that's going to happen in this fight is a shit ton of violence, right? Now, I have a hard time seeing this fight getting over 2 rounds, because if we look at the fights and how they have taken place since Charles Oliveira hit the championship level, there has been a clear path. He gets dropped and looks hurt in the first round, and this version of Charles Oliveira, as opposed to 6 years ago, gets up and wins. That's what he does. So I think he's probably going to get dropped in the first round. Can that be the end? Can Gaethje win it? It could. Or I think that he gets up and the fight ends at some point in the second round. So for me, the best bet on the fight is the under 2.5 rounds in that minus 135, minus 140 range. I think that's a steal. When you consider the amount of violence that should happen in the first 12 and a half minutes of that fight, I think that line should be more like minus 200, not minus 135, minus 140. So for me, that's the clear play in this one. Also, I think that if you like another fighter on this card and you want to get a price down, let's say you want to bet Rose Namajunas, but you don't want to lay 220. I think the alternative under 4.5 rounds in this Gaethje Oliveira fight is probably the safest parlay piece on the board, because if I don't think it's going to go 12 and a half minutes, I certainly don't think it's going to go 23 minutes. So I would say best play under 2.5 rounds, minus 135. And you can also use the alternative under 3.5, under 4.5 in 2 fighter parlays when you're looking to get the price on one fighter down. Aside from that, maybe you can shoot your shot that one of these guys finished in the first or the second round. But like I said, I don't want to guess. I think that for the price, the safest play is the under 2.5 rounds. So that's where I'm at in the main event. That's going to be the play for this video. Just taking a look at the 3 big fights that, at the end of this card. I'm worried about Rose. I in my write-up, I said that the fight really comes down to one thing. Can Rose Namajunas sprawl the takedown? If she can, she's going to cruise. If she can't, she's in for a long day, and she's going to lose her title, because Carla Esparza has world-class female wrestling. Is it as good as Tatiana Suarez? No. Is it as good as Kayla Harrison? Probably not. But it's world-class. Not many female fighters in the UFC, maybe her and Tisha Torres, probably have the 2 best top control wrestling games, right? So that worries me for Rose, because everybody's talking about the Rose. Listen, Rose has an overwhelming advantage on the feet, okay? But she's not Amanda Nunes. Like, yeah, she got the flash kick KO against Zhang. We were on her at plus 180. Thank you. We'll take it. And in the first Joanna fight, she dropped her. But those are the only 2 times that Rose Namajunas has won a fight by knockout of the 11 or 12 wins that she has. So she is far from a guarantee to hurt Carla Esparza and drop her. Now, these 2 women fought a long time ago in the Ultimate Fighter finale for the inaugural strawweight championship. If you watch that fight, Rose was wild. She was a shell of the fighter that she is right now. She is on a totally different level. But to be fair, Carla Esparza is also on a totally different level, okay? So who do I think is going to win the fight? I'm pretty confident against the cage that Rose Namajunas will be able to stop the takedowns. I'm less confident that in space she's going to be able to stop the takedowns. And listen, Carla does not have to take her down every round. She only has to do it 3 out of 5 rounds. And if it happens early, she is going to have 4 minutes of top control in each of those rounds. So that's the concern. There is a legitimate path to victory for the underdog in this fight. Now, if you are going to back Carla Esparza, I think the play is the decision at plus 275, because she's not a dangerous finisher, and I don't see her finishing Rose at all. But I am going to say that Rose wins. I am not. Earlier in the week, I was comfortable with maybe even laying the $2, even though the line opened at minus 180. Earlier in the week, I was like, you know what? I still think there's value at $2. After really digging into the tape, I got to tell you, man, I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried. So, no, I don't feel comfortable laying that 220. If I was going to take Rose, which I still might, I haven't decided yet, I will tie it to the under 4.5 rounds in the Gaethje Oliveira fight. That will get Rose down to in that minus 110 range, which is a much easier pill to swallow. I'll take Rose in a coin flip against anybody in that division. So that is probably the direction that I would lean. And your hedge out is Carla decision at plus 275. Maybe you throw a third of your bet on Rose, you throw it on Carla decision, you cover yourself on the back end. And I think you got the fight pretty well covered if you do that. The other big fight everybody wants to talk about is Michael Chandler and Tony Ferguson. Everybody is ripping Tony Ferguson to shreds, and I get it. I understand. He's not the fighter that he used to be. But I love Tony Ferguson. And, like, you really have to, when you frame the conversation around Tony, you really have to discuss what he accomplished in the cage, which is the reason why he ended up taking all the damage and he is where he is right now. Tony Ferguson, from 2013 to 2019, went on probably the sickest win streak in the history of the sport. When you consider that the 155-pound division for the UFC banner has been the number one mixed martial arts division in the world for a very long time. So what he did from 2013 to 2019, winning 12 fights in a row, is incredible. And it deserves to be said before you rip him apart, which now I'll do. He is not the same fighter. He hasn't just taken a ridiculous amount of damage. He has taken more damage than probably anybody that has ever fought in the UFC. So just look at the 3 losses. 5-round war against Justin Gaethje, where he literally, if he did not have CTE going into that fight, he came out of it with CTE, like literally, right? So he took an ungodly amount of damage. Then Charles Oliveira beats him, absolutely embarrasses him for 3 rounds. And then Beneil Dariush uses his top control, smothers him for 15 minutes. And here we are. What did Tony, 38-year-old Tony, somewhere around there, after winning 12 in a row, has lost 3 fights in a row. And not only has he lost 3 fights in a row, he has lost his last 11 rounds in the cage, which is really bad, man. So I see a lot of people talking about how can you take Michael Chandler by knockout at plus 115 when Tony's only been knocked out 1 time in 30 fights, right? I don't think you cannot apply what he has done previously in his career anymore in 2022. Not after the way that he's looked in his last 3 fights, okay? And this is where I think his chin gets cracked. He's going to fight in the pocket with Michael Chandler for 15 minutes. And we already know that his striking has lost a half step at minimum. His hand speed is slower, right? His power, although it's the last thing to go, probably is not what it was 5 years ago, right? So I just think, had Tony been dropped in any of his last few fights multiple times, Michael Chandler would probably be minus 200, minus 250 to end this fight by knockout. So I think that there's actually value at plus 115 Chandler KO, because we've seen even the toughest chins in the world crack, and it's going to happen to Tony soon, and it's probably going to be later tonight. So for me, as sad as it is to say, I just don't see a way around him not getting rocked by something and just getting dropped. And I think at this point, the refs have seen over the years, have seen Tony take a ton of damage. If he gets hurt badly and dropped, I can see somebody stepping in pretty quickly to save him from more damage. So Chandler KO or bust for me. And that's really it, boys. Those are the three fights. Donald Cerrone, Joe Lozon, two warriors going at it, both dusty as hell. One of them's going to drop probably. Fight ends by knockout is even money. I would think that's probably your best looking, or maybe if you think that they're both really savvy on the ground, fight ends by submission is plus 250. I guess that's a possibility. My gut says fade the chins in that fight, probably by knockout at even money. Yeah, and other than that, that's really it. Oh, I will say one thing. I broke down the tape. I had one more fight to break down last night at like 3 a.m. And I was awake all night anyway because I have stuff going on with my mom. So I watched Cameron Van Camp's last 4 fights. He's won. He looks like he has an okay submission game. But if you go back and watch his fights and where his hands are when he's walking into the pocket, every fight, and then go back and watch what Andre Fiallo did to Miguel Beza 2 weeks ago, tell me how the fight does not end by devastating knockout. Not only do I think that it ends by like highlight reel knockout, I think that it has a legitimate chance to happen in the first minute, never mind the first round. Like if that kid walks into the pocket with his hands down in the first minute, he might get dropped. And like that prop on BetMGM at 8-1, that like, first 60-second KO is a legitimate possibility in this fight. I do not see how this kid wins. I do not see how he stays conscious. I think that the knockout prop should be minus 300, not minus 135. So for me, it's Fiallo by KO, Fiallo in round 1 by KO. Just Fiallo every fucking way by KO. So other than that, that's all I got. Tomorrow at 11 o'clock in the morning, the NASCAR Bet Show will be on the Run Pure Bets YouTube channel. And then at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the NASCAR Bets and DFS Show will be on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel tomorrow. So I encourage everybody to come and check that out. Use the promo code BETS25 off. It'll get you 25% off the first week or month. I think it's worth it. I think it's the best value in the game right now in terms of sports betting content. And other than that, if you do like to live bet and you have the time to sit and watch a show and hang out, the live betting package is an extra $10 a week, which I also encourage everybody to check out. I will be live today for the KegCast subscribers from right now until the end of the Xfinity race. Take an hour or two break, and then I will be live from 6 o'clock until 1 o'clock in the morning for UFC 274. And then we'll be right back at it tomorrow for the NASCAR race. You guys know what I do. You know what my ROI is. So I encourage everybody to check out the live betting package. But regardless of what you bet today, I hope your action runs pure, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Later.